10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Good morning, everybody. It's go time. Welcome back. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown Show brought to you by BetDSI as well as MMA Oddsbreaker. We've got UFC Fight Island 6, Brian Ortega against Korean Zombie. 11 fights, 7 of them are expected to end inside the distance. Let's get things kicked off here. First fight of the night, we've got Mark Striegl taking on Striegl-Nurmagomedov. We've got... Let's look at the DraftKings prices here. $9,200 for Nurmagomedov. Striegl $7,000. Striegl the plus 310 underdog. 18-2 record for Striegl. He's a grappling fighter, fighting out of Baguio, Philippines. Been there before. Interesting place, beautiful place. 32 years of age. Striegl-Nurmagomedov 13-2 record. 9,200. Minus 410 at the betting window, 28 years of age for Nurmagomedov. You watch Saeed fight. He has flashy on the feet. He is solid on the ground. Survived against Raoni Barcelos out there. And Striegl got popped in his last fight, dropped. And I got to say, this is Nurmagomedov's fight all day. I am partial to the Filipino fighters, but I gotta say, in this spot, Striegl-Nurmagomedov should come through here in dominant fashion. This fight is expected to go to a decision at minus 195, so just be cognizant of that. As far as DraftKings goes, I don't think Nurmagomedov is going to be a tremendously high scorer. Next up, second fight, we've head to the light heavyweight division where we have Maksim Grishin taking on Gamrot Antigulov. Gamrot, 33 years old, although he appears as if he's in his mid-40s. 7,100 in DK for Antigulov, plus 260 underdog. Grisham, 9,100, minus 350 betting favorite. Grisham, you look at his record, 30 victories, and got a kickboxing background, likes to stay on his toes here, looking to try to stay at distance, but he's going to have an Antigulov who's going to be probably charging at him. Big reach advantage for Grisham in this spot. Antigulov has been finished 7 times, throws the kitchen sink at his opponents. I don't see this one going the distance, and the odds suggest the same at minus 365. Challenging spot, though, because I got to be honest, although Grisham was didn't fare well against Tybura, he doesn't have a tremendous sense of urgency, and that is going to be brought into question in this spot. He's going to have to get ready to light Antigulov up, and I expect him to do that. We'll be picking Grisham to get it done inside the distance by knockout. Next up, third fight of the night, we've got Ziam-Mullarkey taking on Ziam. Ziam, French fighter, 10-3 record, kickboxer, 7,900 plus 110 underdog, 23 years of age, still young out there. Mullarkey, 12-3 record, tough, gritty Australian fighter, 8,300 minus 140 at the betting window. Hung in there against Brad Riddell, was brutally knocked out by your featherweight champion, Alex Volkanovski. Grinder. The longer this fight goes, I see Mullarkey showing his toughness and pulling away with this. Ziam was exploited in his last fight out against Don Madge, and this could be a potential path to victory for Mullarkey here. As far as stand-up goes, Ziam I expect to be the more proficient fighter on the feet. He's going to try to create space, but he's had a tough time in previous bouts doing that. I know Ziam does have some submission victories on his record, but I don't see him doing that here. Mullarkey is going to be my pick in a close fight. Ziam, I think he's going to look a little bit better than he did in the Madge fight, where he wasn't able to get going. Next up, we head to the middleweight division, where we have John Phillips taking on Jun-Young Park. John Phillips, SBG fighter, 7,400 plus 225 underdog. Getting up there in age, 35 years of age. Lots of finishes on his record. He was the sacrificial lamb last time out to Chimaev. Jun-Young Park, interesting fighter. 8,800 in DK. I think that's a high price, minus 280. Betting favorite, 29 years old. Korean top team fighter. He's a boxer, but he also has a ground game. Can wrestle. I suspect that's what he's going to try to do here. He's got to put Phillips on his back, and once he's able to do that, should be able to find his way in that spot. This fight isn't expected to go to a decision at minus 205. Phillips is live on the feet, so be wary of that, especially early. And Jun-Young Park has a tendency to want to throw hands. Isn't very flashy out there. Is durable. And this I'll be picking Jun-Young Park, but I don't like the price. That minus 280 is a very wide line. Next up, we have 125-pound women fighters, where we have Antigulov-Botelho taking on Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson, 8-4 record, fighting out of American Top Team, 8,700 in DK, minus 215 favorite. Botelho, bigger fighter, has a longer reach in this spot. 7,500 in DK for Botelho, plus 175 underdog. Has a win over Lauren Mueller. Looked a little bit better, moving up to 125 pounds. I had no idea how this lady made 115 pounds. She was shredded down there. Lost to Cynthia Calvillo. She's a striker by nature, fights out of Nova União. Although she is in her training room with high-level jiu-jitsu fighters, and she's going to need her jiu-jitsu in this spot against Robertson, who's going to look to take this fight to the ground. In this spot, I do think that Botelho is live, because you watch the way Robertson fights. Any sequence of event on the feet, she looks like a fish out of water, and Botelho should have a significant edge in the striking. I think that Botelho is going to have a hard time working her way back to the feet. She'll have to probably get a ref stand up to do that. And I see Robertson coming away with a decision victory, though I could see her locking up a submission. I could also see Botelho lighting up Robertson on the feet in this spot too. So I think that Botelho is a live dog here, especially when you're looking at this fight card. Doesn't have many live underdogs, and I'm going to be picking Robertson to win, though Botelho should make this one interesting. Next up, we have the men's lightweight division, where we have Gamrot-Kutateladze taking on Matthias Gamrot. Kutateladze, 28 years old, 7,300 plus 245 underdog out there, 11-2 record, Georgian fighter. You watch his previous fights, and you'll see Ilya Topuria in his corner. Gamrot, ATT fighter, 17-0, unblemished record, 8,900 in DK, minus 315 betting favorite. You watch Gamrot fight, he is a double champ out of KSW. Somehow, someway was able to make 145 pounds. Kutateladze, watch him fight, reminds me a lot of Kyle Nelson out there. For some reason, I see Kyle Nelson in this fighter. Will throw for power, has a little fidgety on the feet, and when he gets hurt or when somebody tries to light him up, the switch gets flipped, and he will come at you guns blazing. This fight is expected to go to his decision at minus 195. Gamrot, I had a bit of a hesitation when I was watching his fights. Norman Park, their first fight, was able to hang in there with him, and doesn't take many risks. Gamrot. He is very intense on the stage. You watch the weigh-ins. Both of these fighters, I was surprised. I expected Gamrot to have a significant size advantage on the scale. That wasn't the case. Guram looked completely shredded out there, and I expect this one to be a very close fight, to be honest. This is another fight where we're looking for underdogs who are few and far between. It's hard. I'm not going to fade the 17-0 fighter who fights out of a great camp and fights smart in Gamrot, except for when he bit Norman Park's finger. Kutateladze could make this one interesting, but I'll be picking Gamrot 17-0, and at 8,900, I don't think he's going to pay off that price tag unless he starts landing takedowns and maintains top position, and Gamrot can do that. So I just think 8,900 is a pretty high price tag. Next up, holy shnikes, we're going to take a big swig for this next fight where we have featherweights here. Yes, folks, Thomas Almeida coming in at 146 pounds, taking on Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez, both of these guys typically fight at 135 pounds, although Martinez missed weight last time out. 26 years of age, $8,000, plus 105 for Martinez, 5'8", has that dominant win over Frankie Saenz, well-timed knees, suspect losses to Andre Soukhamthath. Andre Ewell also put him in some really tough spots. Thomas Almeida been away from the game for about 2.5 years. 8,200 minus 135 betting favorite. This fight opened as a Martinez was a plus 160, I believe, at one point. So the value was on him early, has since shifted. A lot of people aren't aware that this fight was booked at 145 pounds. They thought it was at bantamweight, but that will make things a little interesting. I think we'll see a little bit more durability out of Thomas Almeida, especially being up 10 pounds. Shooter box fighter, lost 3 of his last 4. He was sitting on the sidelines for a little over 2 years due to an eye injury, and a lot of people don't know that. So you watch his fights, Muay Thai specialist, killer, aggressive in nature. Defensively, though, has a number of liabilities. And in this fight, I think we're going to see Martinez looking to stick and move, come in when he does engage, try and land well-timed, those well-timed knees, and those are going to be the tricky areas where Almeida. By the way, Almeida has been training, spent a part of the past 2 years with Charles Oliveira, and he boasted about picking up some ground game, some jiu-jitsu down there. I think if this fight does hit the ground, Almeida is going to have an advantage down there, although we know that Almeida has 17 knockout victories on his resume. And I'll be picking Almeida to win here. I think he just is the more well-rounded fighter, highly skilled fighter, and I think 145 pounds will see a little bit more durability out of him. One thing I worry about, though, is the gas tank. I think that Martinez, he fights out of a great camp in Colorado, and got to be concerned about that. So this fight isn't expected to go to a decision. At minus 180, and I'm going to be picking Thomas Almeida to win in that spot. Next up, we head to the men's welterweight division, where we've got Claudio Silva taking on James Krause. James Krause coming in at 8,500 minus 145 betting favorite. This fight, the line has closed a little bit on it. 34 years old, taking on the 38-year-old Claudio Silva. Hannibal, 7,700 plus 115 underdog. High level jiu-jitsu for Claudio Silva. This guy's on a 14-fight win streak. He is a grappler by nature, looks very sloppy on the feet. James Krause, if this fight does stay on the feet, I expect Krause to torch Claudio Silva. The later the fight goes, though, Claudio Silva very, very live early on. He's going to look to take this fight to the ground at all costs. And Krause does have a solid jiu-jitsu game, though has been out-grappled at times. And that sequence of events in the beginning of the Sergio Moraes fight had the heart beating fast if you were on Krause. Though he was able to squirm and manipulate himself, transition out of that reverse position, and then took over that fight. I posted a tweet of Sergio Moraes giving up side control, just laying on his back and offering up side control to James Krause. Haven't seen that before. And in this spot, Krause, better gas tank, more fluid striker. Though Claudio Silva, you cannot count him out. You watch an interview he did recently. He talks about what brought him to London, and he is live here. He is very, very live. I'll be picking James Krause, though, to win, and the odds have been closing on this fight. Be wary as far as DraftKings goes. I'll be picking James Krause to win. Next up, we head to the light heavyweight division, where we have Jimmy Crute taking on Modestas Bukauskas, Lithuanian fighter, 26 years old, 7,200 in DK, plus 245 underdog. Jimmy Crute, $9,000, minus 315 betting favorite. Crute, he is a brute. You watch the way he fights. He's built for this style of fighting. He's a heavy-handed fighter who is a grappler by nature. He's going to look to try to take fights to the ground. Has some heavy hands, can gas out rather quickly. We saw the Serkinov fight. He was swept, and I don't see Bukauskas being able to do that here. Bukauskas he looked great on the scales, has solid stand-up, looked great in his Cage Warriors fights. This is a fighter who could potentially be live here, though you saw what Crute did in the Michael O fight. That's what he's going to have to come out and do here. He's going to have to go all out as far as taking this fight to the ground and then using his jiu-jitsu and his strong grappling to lock up a submission here. I will say, the longer this fight goes, Bukauskas becomes live. If this fight hits the second or third round, be wary, especially look for that live wager button. Serkinov, you watch that fight. Crute put Serkinov in some tough spots, wasn't able to get him out of there. And the fight that can turn on a dime with Jimmy Crute, so be wary of that. And I think he could be a potentially dangerous play, though. I'll be picking Jimmy Crute to win via submission here. All right, folks, let's head to the women's 125-pound division, where we have Chookagian, 31 years of age, 7,800 in DK, plus 130 underdog, coming in with a tremendous size advantage here. She's got the reach, she's got the height. She's taking on Jessica Andrade, who's moving up to 125 pounds, 20-8 record, 8,400 in DK, minus 160 betting favorite. Jessica Andrade, still only 29 years of age. You watch her interviews, she talks about how she wants to take this fight to the ground and put Andrade in her world. Though Chookagian does have a Renzo Gracie jiu-jitsu background, and Chookagian is going to look to keep this fight at range, look to pepper Andrade. Andrade doesn't have to worry about power in this spot. She does have to worry about being down on the scorecards, and the audible grunts of Chookagian are an issue, especially when there are no fans in attendance. So let's list a couple of other things here. Chookagian has been taken down in 7 of 10 of her fights. She has a 50% takedown defense. She has chicken legs, and she started her career at 115 pounds. You watch Andrade. Andrade has success at 135 pounds. She was the champ at 115 pounds. I think that this is going to be a good weight class for her. We should see Andrade get back to her grappling. Chookagian is going to try to stay at range. I don't see that happening. I see Andrade landing high amplitude takedowns here, and the ferocity should be a major difference. I think that Andrade, I'm going to take a big swig here as we continue on with the breakdown. I think the retirement fight talk of Chookagian is real, and you do not want to have any doubts about where you're at in this game when you're fighting somebody like Jessica Andrade. Chookagian doesn't have the movement that Rose Namajunas has. Andrade should be able to close the distance and find her and put her on her back and rinse and repeat takedowns against the cage and be just a more ferocious, ruthless fighter. And I expect Jessica Andrade to come through in this spot, though. Be aware that if Andrade isn't pulling the trigger, she could get, I don't even want to say pieced up because Chookagian doesn't have power, but Chookagian could look to stick and move and win a volume-based decision here. But I'll be picking Jessica Andrade to get the job done. Now, let's go. It's time for your main event where we have Brian Ortega taking on the Korean zombie Chan Sung Jung. Chan Sung Jung, 33 years of age, 8,600 in DK, minus 195. Betting favorite, 16-5 record. Been around the game a while now. Brian Ortega coming back from a 2-year layoff. You also said Thomas Almeida coming back from a 2+ year layoff. 29 years old still, plus 155. Underdog, 7,600, coming off that hellacious beating at the hands of Max Holloway. You watch Chan Sung Jung's fights, and one thing that's really beautiful about his fights, he is going to lull his opponents into a false sense of security, stay stone-faced, and let his opponents make their first move. Once they do that, he's going to respond with big counter shots, precise, accurate shots, and he's going to make opponents pay. Ortega does not have great stand-up. I know he's been fighting out of a camp with Juan Archuleta and TJ Dillashaw, and we have a freshly shaven Brian Ortega here. In this spot, we know that Brian Ortega is live. He's live in any fight because of his jiu-jitsu and his durability. The Cub Swanson fight, the Frankie Edgar fight, the Renato Moicano fight, the Clay Guida fight. He's been down on the scorecards in a few fights, and it ain't over till it's over for Brian Ortega. He is live in this spot. I'd suggest that as well, but I will be picking Chan Sung Jung to be the more ferocious striker who's going to land the heavier shots. And if it wasn't for the Yair loss that we saw, he would be this fight would be priced very differently. But we don't live in dream worlds, and this is reality. I'll be picking Chan Sung Jung to win this fight inside the distance. You look at Korean Zombie's ground game. He's got a solid ground game, and a lot of people forget that here. Ortega doesn't move very well, and he does not move his head well. He's a big fighter, but I think the damage meter is going to be an issue here. And I'll be picking Chan Sung Jung to win. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. You can check out my plays at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium. Got 3 plays and an add-on up for this one. You can follow me at betmma.tips. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike's MMA Picks. Go get what's yours, my friends. This is your time. We were meant for this. It's a great evening of fights. We've been busting our ass. It's time to kick some ass tonight. Let's go. Let's go.